Hey, it's Worth Playboy.
And my Playboys Bunny.
Welcome to our podcast where we discuss pickup, game, relationships, and
Sex.
And today we're going to talk about, for women, it's a psychological fact.
Yeah.
And I don't think most guys that haven't been doing this long, or if you don't think about it too often, realize the difference between men and women's brains.
Oof.
You don't realize that for a girl not to have a boyfriend, a man, a husband in her life causes instability.
Absolutely.
Both mental health, depression, and just even like day-to-day decisions.
I would say it's the largest factor in our mental health.
Yeah.
I really would. I mean, short of actual biological issues like genetic problems, trauma that have caused actual brain, trauma and problems. Really, in let's say the normal population, having a man or not having a man is the number one cause of our instability mentally.
It is absolutely part of a girl's identity.
Yes.
Whatever man is in her life.
Absolutely.
And I don't think because guys are who they are no matter who's in their life.
Yeah.
They're not defined by their wife, their girlfriend, or who they're banging. I think it's underestimated by men. They don't really realize, girls start thinking about boys at 5 or 6 years of age.
Yeah, or earlier.
And guys are not even aware that girls are in the area till they're 15 or 16, and not really seriously till they're about 25.
Right. Right.
But girls are hyper aware at young.
Yeah.
And they're interested. I mean, there's nothing more interesting to a woman than men. You can take a CEO.
Yeah.
You can take an attorney. You take a Supreme Court judge. And you say, tell me about yourself. And they'll say, well, first I'm a wife and a mother. And then I'm a judge.
Yeah.
Or I'm a wife and a mother, and I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
I'm a wife and a mother, and but their career is second or third.
Right.
So it's a part of their identity. But you even in girl world, when you guys are interacting, how much does that really play into their day-to-day,
Well, I mean, if girls are talking, they're talking first about their husbands and kids, then their pets if they have them, and then maybe themselves as it relates, to those other things. It really is what we think about the most and what we've thought about the most for all of our lives. I mean, from the moment that girls start playing with Barbies, or their brothers have G.I. Joe, or whatever, men are on their radar. So truly, preschool, kindergarten, these are the ages that they start saying, I'm going to marry you, Daddy. I'm going to marry Bobby from my school. I'm going to marry my brother, because they don't have any concept. They just know the boys, the males in their life that are important to them. But it's still a number one factor in our lives from day one.
Yeah, and and here's the thing. I mean, you take an attractive girl that's 21 with no boyfriend. The question is, what's wrong with her?
Right.
Because you take a handsome man who's 21, and they'd say he has a girlfriend. They'd be like, why? He could have, why is he not dating around? It's the exact opposite. But anytime you see a girl that should, for all intents and purposes, not there, it identifies as a problem.
Right.
And even if they object, even them objecting to it, it creates a problem.
It's truly a warning sign for everyone, from her grandmother to her father to her friends to people that they just met that are business acquaintances. It's a red flag for everyone they meet that this, say, above 4 girl is not attached.
Exactly. And so, I mean, that's the same thing goes. I mean, it kind of goes through guys' minds to a certain extent. The more you know about women, the faster it comes up. Because
Yeah.
at first you go, "Oh, good," but now if you actually know game, you're like, it's a red flag
Sure.
because it means no one else is taking her either.
Well, and make no mistake, we also say all the time, girls are never really single.
True.
But girls can also be just like banging guys, and they consider themselves single because they're not in a relationship with them. But that actually does more damage because the casual sex thing does a lot of damage to the majority of girls.
Right. There are outliers.
That's what I'm saying. The majority of girls.
Right.
And so, and those girls will get overly upset and be overly challenged as far as their mental stability because they're riding this roller coaster. They're fucking a guy who doesn't want to commit to her, doesn't want to be seen in public with her, so they have a really good time for a very short blip of time, and then it's like a sugar crash.
Right.
The endorphins come to a grinding halt, and then she's depressed.
And this is one of those things that I think is a lot of it's genetic. Like girls that can have casual sex and it literally has no effect on their depression or on their self-worth.
Right.
It's almost like a sport.
Yeah.
As opposed to girls that are more traditional. Now, the first group has to read the script of the second group. They have to kind of go along with, you can't just sleep around.
Yeah.
They never admit to that. But I do think depending on the girl and the way she's made up is how much it affects her.
Yeah.
Some, a lot, or none.
Yeah.
But
and this is kind of off topic from the actual theme of this podcast, but just to be clear, the girls who can fuck around and truly have no damage from it are very rare. Very rare. There are girls who will fuck around and pretend like it's not causing any damage.
And that's the damage.
But what you're not seeing is that every night she's crying herself to sleep. She goes into depressive moods where you don't see her. This is how it really happens.
She's processing it elsewhere.
Yeah. She can still bring the party.
Yeah.
And pretend like it's not affecting her and own the kind of persona, but that doesn't mean it's not causing damage.
Right.
So there are girls who can fake it very well.
Or there's girls, and this is where if you run rotations, you can relatively do it guilt-free because the right girls will raise their hand to jump in.
Yeah.
And then down the road, when you've served your purpose, which is keeping her busy while she's doing whatever she wants to do, and she needs a guy that can commit, she'll go find a guy that can commit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So sometimes these are very small windows where she's pretty prolific sleeping around, but it can't go on forever.
It's usually just months.
Yeah, it can't go on forever.
It's not years.
Because then it starts affecting her brain.
Yeah.
Girls need commitment at some point. Yeah, none of this is indefinite. Because even Playboys go through huge cycles,
Sure.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, why don't you because this is a really good topic, and I don't want to get off topic from it. But I think your story that kind of brought this topic to the forefront of your mind is a really good, though extreme, it's a really good example of some of what we've seen in the real world, even today through COVID. We saw a ton of this. So tell your story.
Okay, so there on YouTube, there is a psychologist that looks at either extreme situations or crime.
Yeah.
And then he does a breakdown, like he says, I'm not diagnosing, I'm just making suggestions of the psychological impact where this person is. And the very first live broadcast suicide that ever happened was a 29-year-old female newscaster in Florida. And this is back in the 70s. And the biggest question was, is there a copy of it? And I'm not going to reveal the truth, but the thing was he walked in 30 minutes, walked her from childhood all the way to the moment that she shot herself. And throughout her life, we're talking about a girl that was like a 5'6" and attractiveness, not
But attractive enough to
attractive
be a
enough,
newscaster
yeah.
in the 70s.
Yeah, and personable enough. You can't do these things without some charisma.
No.
But she wanted a boyfriend, and she couldn't get one. She even like started a no boyfriends club in high school. Like other girls that wanted a boyfriend but didn't have one, so they'd get together and figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And she had a couple like casual relationships over the years, but nothing that stuck.
Yeah.
And she really wanted this, And then at 28, she had a problem with an ovary. They did surgery. The doctor said, you got to get pregnant within the next couple years or you're not going to be able to have kids. Right. This is the classic. And in the 70s, it was even stronger than it is today.
Absolutely.
And today, it's pretty damn strong.
Yeah, in the 70s, I would say 28, 29 would be almost old maid material.
You might as well have been 40.
Yeah.
And she had a crush on a guy in the newsroom, but he already had a girlfriend and had to like kind of turn her down.
Yeah.
And she was going through another depressive period. I don't think she had ever been hospitalized, but she had doctors, she had therapy in the past.
Sure.
And then she went on the news and read the news and then pulled out a gun and shot herself in the temple. But it was reinforcing something that I know being in our little world of game.
Yeah.
But it was really reinforced was how important a part of men are in women's lives.
Absolutely.
There are certain instances where I think, men have struggled with women and it's ended up in like a mass shooting. But across the board, most men don't, their identity isn't wrapped up in another person.
Right, no.
But for a woman, her identity is very wrapped up in who her boyfriend, girlfriend is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It also reminds me of this this experiment they did with like a high school, and they took a sheet of paper and it said, "What are you thankful for?" And they put it in like the girls' bathroom, the boys' bathroom, and the teacher's bathroom.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. And so on the boys, it was like Fortnite, weed, fast cars, money, all these things. And in the girls' bathroom, it was my boyfriend and my parents.
Yeah.
My boyfriend and this Jake. I mean, it was, I would say at least half of it was their boyfriend.
Absolutely.
Or a guy's name. Nothing on the boys.
No.
And in the, I guess there wasn't much on the teacher's side.
Yeah.
They have to stay pretty neutral. But I noticed, I was like, there's nothing. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know.
It does.
mean, my boyfriend.
My boyfriend, my boyfriend, my boyfriend. And I mean, truly, even in high school, girls assume that they're going to marry the guy that they're dating at the time in high school.
Yeah.
You just assume that you're going to live happily ever after, and it starts right now, and you're going to have this great story to tell. But, in COVID, we saw this a lot when girls who were not in relationships or had divorced and were single or were not in a serious enough relationship to where they had someone spending time with them during COVID, during the shutdown, it was blaringly obvious who had a man in their life and who didn't on social media. There was a lot of drunken posts. There's a lot of drinking all the time. There was a lot of allowing everything to just kind of be a crisis. It was an absolute shit show for the women who did not have a stable relationship. And I say stable. I think it's important to note that this is even true when a woman has the shittiest husband. He beats her. He's an alcoholic. It doesn't even seem to matter if he's really all that good for her.
It's still a stabilizing influence compared to what she'd have
Yeah.
outside of that.
Which is terrifying to think of. But, you know, I mean, we have a close friend who she's kind of a partier-ish. Mainly she's just social. He was a big partier, alcoholic. He recently died about 1.5 2 years ago. And she has spun out of control. I mean, in no good ways, because even though he was a shit show, he at least kept her on track.
It's like a drag anchor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, the boat will drift a little bit, but it doesn't just go anywhere.
That's a great analogy.
It really is. And one thing that 90% of guys' jobs, like during COVID,
Yeah.
would be to come home, and he's got this girlfriend or wife spinning out of control. And his job is to tell her, turn off the TV,
Yeah.
get off the internet,
Exactly.
and your sister's a fucking idiot. Now, let's get some dinner going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the girl is drinking, she's talking to her family who are idiots,
Yeah.
and she's on social media, which is full of idiots too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you see more and more like husbands and wives, as soon as the wedding happens, her social media is like shut down
Sure.
pretty quick.
She's busy.
Yeah. But there's just less allowable emphasis on it, because it tends to like cause girls to have envy and jealousy and unnecessary drama,
Right.
you know, and most men are just like, yeah, you need to turn that off.
Not going to tolerate
Because
it.
social media is very feminine,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just, for a lot of guys, unless their business requires it, they're not on it.
Sure.
So they go, why are you on it? You know, that's how it works.
But it's such, I don't think this point can be made even strongly enough, how critical men are in women's lives. And this is why the clock starts ticking. This is why cuffing season is a real thing. This is why, you know, girls really, really, really push for relationship.
And why during the holidays, it's very important for them to show up with someone.
Yes.
Even if it's very temporary.
Yes.
It keeps mom and grandma and everybody else off their back.
Exactly.
And whoever they're competing with, they can actually show up with somebody.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. That's like, I've told about it on this podcast before, but there's this wedding date movie that's Deborah Messing, and she hires a gigolo essentially to be her wedding date for this destination wedding, specifically because she can't stand the thought of showing up alone and, you know, having everyone in the family think that she's alone, because it's a red flag.
Yeah.
And everyone knows this.
Everyone. But for you guys, and the less you've been running game, you need to keep it in the forefront, or at least as a reaction when girls are single, telling you how great their lives are. No matter how great it is, it would be a lot better with a boyfriend.
Exactly. And don't forget it.
Yeah.
Don't forget
that's where you carry value.
And I would say, guys, if this is of interest to you, if girls tend to be a little bit of a mystery, or if you just want to understand these kinds of concepts better, check out Fort Worth's collection of Chateau HEARTISTE books. I think the first one is the absolute best. The Best of Chateau HEARTISTE, #1, is fucking phenomenal in learning how to really navigate girl brain and understand the way they work. Chateau did a great job of writing about female psychology and helping you understand it. So Fort Worth has a whole collection of books that are of the writings, collections of Chateau HEARTISTE, and they are fucking phenomenal. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, because we want you to win. Bye!